wanting the pre-conscious state. Before the fall of man, before we came to this world of dreams and illusions, we're in a state of oneness with God in heaven. The Course then teaches us we had a mad, tiny idea to which we gave attention. We forgot to laugh. And at that point, because the mind can only think of one thing at a time, that madness became our reality, and we lost the thought of God and heaven. That caused the split mind. And because we became conscious that there was God and heaven, and now there is something different. Therefore there is the arising of consciousness with duality and opposites as a consequence. So it's important to realize there was a state before consciousness, which I will call the pre-conscious state, not to be mixed up with the unconscious or the subconscious. And if we compare the two states, we see that with consciousness we have duality. In the pre-conscious there was oneness. With consciousness there is time and space, whereas before there was the eternal and the infinite. With consciousness it comes through the body with perception, but before there was no thing. There was just one, awareness. With consciousness comes fear and separation, whereas before there was love, unity and peace. And finally, with consciousness, the possibility of lack, whereas before there was only abundance. And if you think carefully, which state would you prefer to be in? Yet the ego has taught us that without consciousness, we do not exist. You disappear somewhere, and if that consciousness or unconsciousness lasts permanently, you die or disappear forever. But it's important to realize this is an ego trick, because life existed before consciousness, and therefore life exists without consciousness. Our true life, the reality, comes before consciousness. And so with consciousness came death. Because consciousness seems to be encased inside the body. It seems to be you. But this is an ego trick, because the body came after, came with the split mind as a projection of its trying to get away from guilt and shame. So consciousness seems to be inside, but is actually reliant. It's a mechanism reliant upon consciousness of data coming in, and therefore perception. And because we know perception can change, we know it's not true, because truth never changes. And here's the biggest ego trick. Because without a body, you would be having no consciousness and therefore dead. But with a body, death is a possibility, in fact an inevitability, and therefore it's a double-edged sword. You cannot be without consciousness, and yet you cannot be with consciousness, because that holds you in this place of death. Therefore there is, or there seems to be, no escape. So in order to release yourself from this dream in order to escape this nightmare. We must do what God told us to do. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, be silent, go within. And when we do that, when we go within and we are silent, it's as if consciousness reverts back to that, and again I'll use the word but I don't like it, awareness, the pre-conscious state. We call it trance or deep meditation, where you go off, your mind seems to go off somewhere, when really all that happens is that natural, normal, true state of self comes to the fore. And therefore we should all seek to come into the eternal moment of now and be still and silent.